Thanks for joining us for That Larimer County Show. Today we're celebrating the 60th anniversary of Larimer County Natural Resources. I'm Denny LaRue, Larimer County Community Information Manager. This is Neil Gluckman, Larimer County Assistant County Manager. Hi, Neil.
Hi, Denny. It's been a long time. I think
6 years, no.
No, 6 years. Well, it's been a long time since you and I have done a TV show.
That's right.
And we probably should explain to our audience that we've been on tour with that Larimer County show, going to all the large, arenas throughout the country. So keep in mind and
but we're here today.
We're here today, and we're going to have some fun. We've got a good show. We have two people from our open lands, or actually it's called Natural Resources.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about going back in time. So even I have a problem in all the different names that they had.
But we'll catch up. And it's 6 years of excellence in conservation and recreation. And it's something Larimer County is pretty proud of.
Right. And we have two great guests. We have Gary Buffington, who is the director. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we have Rob Novak, who is, why don't you tell us your title?
Well, I'm the Community Relations Specialist for the department.
That's easy for you to say. So.
Now, this is great because when we think of 60 years and what Horsetooth, let's just start with Horsetooth Reservoir because that's, I think, a place that many people are aware of. I was doing some research and looking at the fact that the Colorado legislature approved the Northern Colorado Conservancy District to get started on the Big T, or Big Thompson project, in 1937.
Wow.
And they started building the tunnels and Alva B. Adams Tunnel and the project, and then Horsetooth Reservoir was built from 1946 to 1949, and the first water storage in 1951. So people were looking at this whole project of bringing water from the western slope to the eastern slope for, a long time before it even got started. And then the Bureau of Land Management and Larimer County got together, and then I'll let you take it from there.
Okay. Well, Rob's going to cover that a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Part of the history.
Yeah. We really feel like we grew up with Larimer County. Back in those days, the population was obviously much smaller, but we needed water on this end of the mountains so that our communities could grow up and develop. And what came along with that was this fabulous opportunity for outdoor recreation. Back in those days, there wasn't a lot of open water around, so you didn't necessarily have any place you could take and put a boat on or go fishing outside of the rivers. And so the first water hit Horsetooth in, you said, 1951, and a few years later, the reservoir was full, and our department was founded within the county.
So it's like two things that it had accomplished. It accomplished the recreation, which you're here for, but it also brought water to this area, which was quite an accomplishment. Do many people know that there's a tunnel that provides you that water?
It's kind of hard to miss depending on where you're at, because when you come down to Flatiron or Pinewood, those penstocks are right there on the hillside. Folks from around here, I think, have a good sense of what that means, but maybe some of our visitors from California and Texas
might not understand. They don't think it's just a runoff of the mountains that it comes right here.
Yeah.
I bet you a lot of people do think that.
Yeah, and those tunnels are pretty significant, and you can drive a Jeep through them to service them. So
and they were done back in the 1930s, late 1930s, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
They started.
Tremendous engineering feat.
Yeah, yep.
So you mentioned, you brought up the other reservoirs, and before we go on to recreation, let's talk a little bit about that system, the water system. You have Flatiron Reservoir, you have Pinewood Springs, Carter Lake, Horsetooth, and they're all sort of integrated into this project, the Big T project.
That's right. That water comes through that Alva B. Adams Tunnel into Estes Park. It goes into East Portal, flows down into Mary's Lake, Lake Estes, and then it comes down to the hill to us, and it hits Pinewood first. Pinewood's a lovely place, a lot of rustic kind of feel to Pinewood. Then it comes down those big penstocks and hits Flatiron, produces a little bit of electricity through the hydroelectric plant on its way, and then gets pumped up into Carter Lake, distributed from there by the Northern Colorado Water Conservancy District, or Northern Water, out to municipalities and for agricultural uses. And then it actually flows for gravity up to Horsetooth through a system of ditches and fills in Horsetooth that way.
Wow. Who knew? For a lot of people, it's Horsetooth Reservoir, the second busiest reservoir in the state of Colorado, right?
It is.
Pueblo's, I think, the first.
The first, it is.
Yeah.
So we have a busy summer going. Every summer is so busy. We're so weather dependent, it's kind of crazy. Because rain, of course, helps, fills the reservoir, but it also kind of puts a damper on visitation sometimes. So we're very weather dependent, but we go with the flow with regards to that and make things happen. And Rob and I were just talking about what it was like in 1954.
Right, I was going to
with
say.
regards to
this
the
brand new-
population,
Yeah.
and I think the county, you know, we thought the county population is right around 30,000 people.
Yeah.
Now it's close to 300,000. Is that-
316,000 now is the new
16.
2013 estimate.
That's really something.
And in 1954, you were still a director, is that correct?
I could have been, but I'd been 3 years old maybe, or something like that. But
So what was it like in 1954? I mean, I don't mean directly. I mean, what did people experience? There was nothing
Sure.
there compared to what there is today.
I'm just guessing because I'm not that old, Neil, but I'm just guessing
You have
what
historical
it might have been
photos
like.
and records.
And because I did grow up in Fort Collins, you know, in the 60s and 70s. But 54, I think, I always look at the black and white pictures and go, wow, everything's black and white. Obviously it wasn't, but I think it was less people, you know. It was still a lot of interest about water and recreation, you know. I think just less people on the reservoir. We started with like about a handful of people. You know, seasonal employees probably in that time of the year, you know. Didn't have them full-time folks at all. They had a recreation board, a citizens board, which is kind of cool also. So they're kind of organized, you know, county commissioners and a recreation board, a few employees.
What was it called then? Was it called Parks?
Larimer County Parks.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because
So-
I kind of goofed up your introduction because even in my short time being with the county, I think your group had 5 different names.
Maybe
right.
3 or 4,
Okay.
not maybe
Well,
5.
Parks,
Yeah.
parks and open lands.
That's right. And then natural resources.
Natural resources. And we added, you know, the weed control folks in 2003 and also the forestry program. So we've gotten bigger. We have 46 employees and they started with like probably 4 or 5. And come a long way. But, you know, in 54, I think we have our Deb Wyckoff actually. Talk about that, Rob, a little bit about
so,
Deb Wyckoff.
and we've got a photo we can put up here. This is and her father. So Deb Wyckoff is our business operations manager. She's been with our department for over 20 years, and that's her dad with her. And he claims that they put the first boat on Horsetooth Reservoir. But this is her in the boat. And she's very quick to mention that there's probably 50 other people that claim that they put the first boat on Horsetooth Reservoir. But this was actually a boat that he built.
Wow.
He could fold it up and throw it in the back of the truck.
Wow.
And in those days, just like everybody else, there's no boat ramps. There's just dirt roads leading up to the water's edge. And so people pull in off of the county roads. They put in wherever they want. They go wherever they want. And it was just a very calm, quiet experience and very removed from what you would see today going down to Horsetooth Reservoir.
Could people still camp there then?
Absolutely. You could pitch a tent wherever you'd like, on any piece of flat ground around the reservoir. If you were able to get to it, you could stake a claim for the night or for the weekend and have your camp out.
Now, I imagine over the past years, especially the past 60 years, that the amenities in terms at your parks have changed a lot. What was it like back when, and what do you have right now?
I think just basic boat ramps back then, and a few unorganized areas that you could camp and picnic, you know, with regards to the amenities. But we did a lot.
You didn't have
of
a beach at Horsetooth at first, do you
I don't
think?
think we had a beach. We did
No
not have a
beach?
beach.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
was
believe.
say in the
Well,
70s, early 70s, we used to go up and swim. You
Okay.
could just
Yeah.
swim wherever you wanted.
That's true.
But just off the rocks, right?
Right,
And that's,
yeah.
we've got some
Nothing designated.
photos
I
of
don't
that,
think.
right? Yep.
Yeah. So we got a lot of information from folks. We did some surveys, some polling, asked them what they wanted. Gosh, they wanted a whole bunch of things. We didn't really have the dollars to do that, but we scrounged up a few dollars and worked some things with grants. And gosh, now we have flush toilets, showers, if you can believe that. You know, a designated beach, pavilions. I mean, a whole bunch of amenities.
And you have
that folks-
accommodations that you don't need to have a tent. Is that right?
That's true.
The camper cabins.
That's true. Camper cabins.
And now the teepees
Yeah, and an airstream.
Yeah.
So
and an
yeah,
Airstream.
all different kinds of.
Okay, so where are they all located? Go real quickly. You have
That's yeah.
Well, the
so-
teepees are at Flatiron
Okay.
Reservoir. The South Bay has the Airstream. And
As well as
what
the
else we-
camper cabins.
That's right.
Yeah,
camper
we've got
cabins,
3
that's
camper
correct.
cabins there at South Bay.
Correct.
And then Hermit Park Open Space is one of our campgrounds up in Estes. We acquired back in 2007 from the Agilent company. And that was a retreat for Agilent and HP employees. And so it came complete with 5 campgrounds and 15 camper cabins. So that's a tremendous experience there in the Estes Valley.
So if someone wanted to do make reservations, website?
Sure, that's larimercamping.com.
Okay.
And you're going to want to look a few months in advance if you kind of can plan out especially between Memorial Day and Labor Day. You've got a 180-day reservation window, so you can go 6 months. And believe me, there are people that spend New Year's Day just waiting for that time window to open so that they can make their reservations for July 4th and some in Father's Day.
Sounds like how
some
I
of the
wait for
bigger-
those Rolling Stone tickets.
But that's right. Yeah, you just got to get it. Got to
Gotta
get
get
it.
it right
So,
that
so you
time.
definitely have to plan ahead a little bit during the summer. But times like this, we're post Labor Day now. Certainly, a place like Hermit Park Open Space or
Shoulder
Flatiron,
season, yeah.
gotta love those shoulder seasons. You can probably get in. You can probably walk in to a site this time of the year.
So, I find that really interesting because one thing over the last few years, I am so impressed by, you're always coming up with new things that people want. And I know you do surveys and you have public meetings, you do a lot of outreach to find out what it is. You added the beach on the eastern side because people wanted more swimming. And so you're constantly doing that yoga on the beach.
Right. Yeah.
The Airstream trailer, I know that was a big deal. So where do you get all these ideas? Like how do you get all these ideas and really follow what's going on?
I think we watch the national trends. We're involved with some national recreation memberships throughout the nation. We kind of watch that. We kind of watch folks in there's always different kinds of, I guess, activities recreation oriented, like the paddle boards now are big.
Stand-up paddle boards.
It's a big thing. Used to be sailboarding. Now it's kind of graduated to paddle boats. So we kind of just watch the trends, ask people about what they think. We have concessionaires at the marina that also give us some information.
Yoga on the beach was my idea.
Yoga on the beach is Neil's idea.
Yoga on stand-up paddle boards too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, a lot of concessionaires are doing that now too. That's some skill. To be able to
is,
downward dog on a paddle.
On a paddleboard. So tell me, I went to a Great Jack's demo day, and it was easier than I thought it would be. It was a lot of fun for a stand-up paddleboard. So I know you go with trends. People want things, you try them out, then something else comes in. But what for people who haven't tried some of the different things and been to maybe all the reservoirs, some are wakeless. Some are power boats, but how do you manage that desire between, say, a sailboat and a power boat, or a canoe and what's available at the different reservoirs?
Our marina operators have rental boats available, so they have usually a variety of fun things that you can rent, try out before people buy them. And that's kind of how it goes that way. We also invite vendors out, like Jack's Surplus and Jack's Gear and some other vendors in the
REI and
in the community. Also, bring out for a day. Bring your mountain bikes out for a day. Do some repairs on mountain bikes and let folks try out the mountain bikes at Horsetooth, Mountain Park. So it's just kind of in the recreation field, you just kind of try things. I think variety is the spice of life when it comes to recreation. People like to do different things. And not very long, they're on to something else, it seems like, so.
And you have wakeless.
Absolutely.
Pinewood
Yeah.
and
Well, and it's about balance too. That these places are here for everyone, and depending on what you're doing, as long as it fits within our regulations and our system, we want to provide an experience for you. And so while you can't do everything you might want to do at one particular place, you can find a place to do it. So like you mentioned, Pinewood Reservoir, pretty rustic spot. It's way up high above our other reservoirs in the system. We don't have a lot of development there, although there would be some new amenities come spring for people there. But it is wakeless. You can have belly boats, you can have trolling motors. And it's just a really quiet kind of experience up there. You juxtapose that with a place like Horsetooth, where that is our powerboat, wake surfing, jet skis. That's what you tend to see there. Down at Carter, we see a lot more sailing. The wind is a lot more favorable in that valley for sailing and that sort of thing, but a lot of power boats in that too.
I would think too, kind of going along with Danny's question, is that those that started recreating back when in the 1950s, the young people then are a lot different than the young people what they want today.
Sure.
Maybe then it was more basic. Now it's all the contraptions that one could use on the water. Do you see a lot of that, a difference in the needs and wants of the people
Different
now?
age groups
that are recreating? Yeah.
Definitely we see that.
Absolutely, and those trends, back in the 1950s, I think the vast majority of our visitors were probably local people. I'm not sure that we got a tremendous amount of tourism from other places. Now we see a ton of visitors from Texas, California, Illinois, coming in to have a Colorado experience. And we can provide that in a number of ways at a lot of our different properties. And in terms of use, fishing's always going to be fishing. You know, but you're going to get a lot better gear and sonar and all sorts of things to make fishing less challenging, maybe, a little more successful.
Are you surprised when you look at the
That's-
license plates and see how many people are from different states, or is that something you expect now?
We expect it. You know, we're
Absolutely.
at 60% visitation from out of the county.
Wow.
Is that amazing or not?
60%. Okay.
It is, so.
And it's also not uncommon to be at a trailhead and hear German being spoken, or to have international visitors as well, which can create some interesting challenges if they don't speak English. But you can, you know, maps are universal for the most part, so you can point
So
people where to go.
it's called the, you know, we call it internally, I think, the jewel of Larimer County. Is that something that's known outside of Larimer County?
I think so. I think so. People,
Yeah.
we have regular visitors from Denver, you know, every weekend throughout the summer they come up.
They're up.
So we have favorite. We're a favorite definitely in Colorado.
So we've talked a lot about recreation, and there actually is a lot more to natural resources. Well, recreation is a big part of everything you do, but you also, as you mentioned, have the forestry and the weeds, those departments, and they are a very big part of what you do too.
They are absolutely a big part. We just have one forester, but he's a strong forester and been around a long time, and he does a great service. A lot of citizens call him up and
Right,
ask
Dave.
for help. Come out, see what do I have? Mountain pine beetle. What do I have? What's the problem with my tree that I have? Please identify it for us and give me some options on how to control that disease or whatever.
So when we're talking about weeds, we're talking about actually noxious weeds, right? We're not
Well,
talking
that's the-
about the other weed.
Correct. Noxious
That's
weed.
right.
They're all on the list. Marijuana is not on that noxious
on the
weed
list.
list
Okay.
yet.
Yet.
But
But that's
Or any
something
longer.
also
That's,
in Colorado right now. That would be something that would come up. People would be, as you said, 60% of your people are from out of state,
we have
or out of the area rather. So
we do have a problem with misconceptions with regards to the laws right now. A little bit confusing to folks. The biggest two issues, I think, are age, because you have to be over 21 or 21 or over to smoke, and you can't not smoke marijuana in public. So those are our two biggest violations right now. We have folks that come into the state and think, oh, they're 18, smoke in public is okay. So right now we're doing a major education with folks like that come into the state and don't know exactly the laws and haven't asked the questions yet. So our rangers work very hard to educate those users.
Right, and I think, you know, part of what you all have to do is maintain the safety for those folks that are enjoying your area, and safety is a big part.
just like,
Absolutely.
just like boating under the influence.
It's the same thing.
Drinking and boating.
Treat it the
Exact
same
same
way. We
Right.
treat it the same way.
Well, that's being impaired is being impaired, whether or not you're impaired from having had too much alcohol or had illicit drugs or now legal drugs, but you're still impaired.
Right, and you want to make sure that everyone that's there is enjoying their experience, and both the person who might be drinking a little or whatever, as well as everyone else.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
So the other weed district.
Another weed
Yes.
district.
So these are state listed noxious weeds,
Right.
and they do a tremendous amount of outreach to the community as well, helping people with small acreages understand the weeds that are on their property and tactics and strategies that they can use to eradicate those, suppress them. They loan out equipment and expertise and do site visits for folks to give them advice on that. And so it's a huge part of our stewardship of not only the properties that the county owns, but also the private land in the county.
Speaking about property the county owns, that's a great segue into another really big piece of what you do, and that's the open lands program.
In 1999, a sales tax was approved by the voters, and it's a great sales tax.
95 originally.
95 originally. Actually, 90, if you want to go back, 94 originally, that actually lost in 94.
Oh, right.
95 won,
Right.
and then we did it again, extended in 99 for till 2018, which is coming up here pretty soon. It's been a great program. We, gosh, how many acres do we have now, Rob? Over
So-
20-some thousand?
Oh, 44,000.
With our partners, over 44,000 acres.
that's right.
So that's with
You know what?
conservation easements.
That's correct. So a couple different tools we have in our conservation toolbox with those sales tax funds. We can purchase the land, what we call fee simple, and that means that the county owns that land outright. So we've got about 25,000 acres in that part of the system. We also have conservation easements, which is a situation where the counties only purchase the development rights from a willing landowner. And so that way that property is still in private hands, but it'll remain open space. If it has some agricultural value in particular, that's very important for our community.
Longview Farm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as a community separator as well, keeping Loveland and Fort Collins from growing together, big piece of that. And so we've got about 8,000 acres in conservation easements. And then another 11,000 in partnership with the cities and towns, which they're ready-made partners in the case of the Open Lands Program, because it's not only the county that benefits from the Help Preserve Open Spaces sales tax, the cities and towns in Larimer County all receive a share of that funding, which I think is a difference between 94 and 95, might have helped get that across the finish line.
That's right.
And so the Fort Collins Natural Areas Department, the Loveland Natural Areas Program, Berthoud Parks, Estes Valley Recreation District, and Timnath, Johnstown, the part of Windsor that's in Larimer County, all receive funding from that sales tax to do the same kind of work, conservation easements and open spaces or natural areas within their city limits.
How do you distinguish between a parks and an open lands?
It's really not distinguishable. It's the lines are totally blurred. Citizens and visitors don't really know the difference, and that's fine with us. You know? Most open spaces are day use areas for the most part, you know, except for Hermit Park, which is overnight use. But it's mostly trails and picnicking and day use type of activities on our open spaces. Very popular right now. In fact, we're getting loved to death to a certain extent, and we have capacity issues. And we're trying to figure those things out with some new development plans that'll help us either make parking lots larger, extend some trails, but at some point in time we will reach capacity, and we'll have to draw the line somewhere. And that's when reservations come in and some other tools that we might use to accommodate our visitors, because we want to be safe and enjoyable. And you're on a crowded trail, you can't always do that. It's not enjoyable for some of us. So we want to make sure that folks
That balance.
you have that balance with regards to that.
And you're in a master planning process right now.
We are. We're finishing up our open lands master plan. Going to be starting our parks master plan updates next year. So you talked about public process and outreach. We do that a ton.
I know.
We send out postcards to all of our neighbors. We have meetings, several meetings throughout the year when we're in our master planning process. And people love it because they have a voice and a choice, and they tell us their comments. And
I would think that your department is a model for open lands and parks, and that other folks or other counties or cities must be looking at you guys as a model.
We've been told that. We've been told that.
Absolutely, and we're part of on the open space side of things in particular, we're part of the Colorado Open Space Alliance, which is a group we helped start 15 years ago. We were just at the COSA conference a few weeks ago, and lots of the presentations were done by our staff. We're you look at open space programs across the state, we're definitely in the big three. So you've got Jefferson County Parks. They were the first open space program, and their funding is in perpetuity. So they had that big Earth Day wave that they rode to get a half-cent sales tax in perpetuity. Boulder County came shortly after that, and then we started in 1995. So only being 18 years old, we don't have the years that those folks have behind them in that part of the program, but we're certainly caught up with them awfully quickly.
Yeah, I think so.
You've gotten a lot of grants from Great Outdoors Colorado, matching funds, and because of the wonderful work that you've done. I mean, you've got a reputation.
We're very fortunate to have
And the collaboration.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
with our partners, and Great Outdoors Colorado has been amazing, helper for us, and we match a lot of those grants, and we could only probably do half the things we've done without the grants in terms of the acreage that we've acquired.
We only have just a few minutes left. Believe it or not, it goes so fast. And there's so much about natural resources. I got an email the other day from a woman that said, I was going to come hiking and I wanted to, I saw that you had a webcam. So I went and checked out the parking lot to see if there were any spaces available. And I found out I can't remember what she said there were or weren't. And it was right before you did the press release on that.
That's right. Yeah.
So now people can go.
Yeah, at Horsetooth Mountain Open Space, as Gary mentioned, one of the areas we're having a bit of a capacity challenge with the parking lots up there in our trails. So our visitor services staff, our rangers, work to install a webcam So now you can check our overflow lot at Horsetooth Mountain Open Space before you come, so you don't have to take the trouble driving across town to get up to County Road 3080 and find out, oh gosh, I'm not one of the lucky ones that got up here just as somebody was pulling out, so I can pull in and get a parking space. So that's a bit of a pilot project for us. We're hoping to expand that, and gosh, I think it'd be great to be able to check the boat ramp lines or check other open spaces where we've got good connectivity before you take the trouble to pack the kids up and come out for a hike.
You know, one of my new duties is economic development, and I've actually been to a couple other states talking about it. And ironically, one of the things that come up that I don't even mention is the open lands and space that we have in Larimer County as being part of economic development.
Tremendous part of economic
Yeah,
development.
and
Absolutely.
people come here, not just individuals, not families, but even companies really consider Larimer County because of our parks and open lands.
Absolutely.
Gary, 30 seconds. You're the Director of Natural Resources. Where's it going?
Gosh, I think the word today is innovation. We talked about the webcam. We're doing automated pay stations, making it convenient for people to obtain passes and pay to play, I call it. And so I think we're just looking at all kinds of innovative ways to have a variety of opportunities for folks to recreate in a safe, enjoyable experience in our, we're so blessed to have the open spaces that we have, the natural resources in Larimer County. It is so easy to market those because they sell themselves. We just have to protect them, conserve them for the future. That's where we're at.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, and thanks for being here.
Our pleasure.
Neil, anything to add?
Nope, I think we're good.
We're good? Okay, thank you for joining us for That Larimer County Show.